Hey everybody, welcome back to Bridge the Gap podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Scott.
And we wanted to start today's episode with a special shout out to my little brother, who's not so little anymore. It's his 17th birthday.
Unbelievable.
Insane.
It really is.
Wanted to give a special shout out to him. I went on Mom's Facebook last night to find pictures for a post for him and all the just pictures I found, and I was like,
I know.
Like, that's my baby.
I know. I shared pictures with you guys. I think I said it on the show before, but, I take memories every day and send them to the group text. And it's more so for you and your brother's memories, right? You don't remember all the stuff sometimes. And don't get me wrong, as I get older, I'm forgetting a lot of shit myself. But just to remind everybody of the good times and the memories and the things that we've done together as a family. And yeah, it's crazy looking at those memories today and the day he was born, and one of those memories was a year before he was born. It was 2007 and you were on a little bouncy ball in the backyard at the townhouse that we were renting before we moved into our first house here in the South. And I was like, God, who would have known that a year from that day we would have a little brother, And then you have all the pictures of him being born and our first official family of 4 picture. And
yeah,
it's crazy that my youngest is 17. It's crazy, but we're very proud of who he is.
Yes.
And who he's becoming as a man. I mean, he's a year away from legally being a man and an adult, which is crazy. Of course, anybody that's listening that's older than you are knows that 18 does not make you an adult, even in the slightest. I don't know if I'm an adult now in some instances, to be honest with you. But at least legally he's a year away, which is just incredible. But yeah, super proud. So outside of that, obviously, there's been a lot of things that have happened since you and I last recorded for this podcast. One of which was 9/11, right? The anniversary of 9/11, 24 years ago, which is just incredible to think. So obviously, one of the darkest days in our history. It's really one of the darkest days in my life, to be honest. And I'm not even from New York. I really don't have any ties. I mean, my sister-in-law lived in Brooklyn when it happened, so there was a close tie there. Your grandparents were there. I think they left the week before on the exact same flight that left New York bound for LA. I think it was what it was. Because there was 2 to San Francisco, 1 to LA, if I'm remembering correctly. I can't quite remember, but I think they're one of those American Airlines. Maybe it was United. I'm rambling incoherently at this point, but there were some ties with that stuff, and so I do know. But yeah,
it's
crazy.
It's an interesting day. Yeah, it's an interesting day for Gen Z. For a majority of Gen Z, a lot of us were not alive yet, including me. But I will always make sure that I pay respect on 9/11. I don't let the day pass without a prayer, and I don't let the day pass without making sure that I watch at least one documentary on it, because it seems only fair for all the 2,996 people that died on the day, and then now the number's over 3,000 due to complications from 9/11. So I definitely make sure that I always do my part. And I cry every year like I was alive. It's really hard, but it's important that people aren't just posting #neverforget, but that they're enacting never forget. You can't say never forget and post the pictures if you're not paying the respect to the people that did die. Because it's not just a day to follow the trend. It's a day to truly sit down and remember what happened. What makes me a little sad, which I know it's because like university, college, it's not as structured as K-12 schools, K through 12. But I do wish colleges still made us do things to remember like they did K through 12, because every 9/11 K through 12, I mean, some things they probably shouldn't have shown us within school walls, to be honest. And they didn't show us the more gruesome things until later on, obviously, but they made sure we remembered. And if I didn't remember it on my own accord, I wouldn't have remembered, because it's just like colleges don't acknowledge it now. Universities don't acknowledge it. They don't. And I've heard this from multiple universities because I have friends that go to multiple universities. It's not just Clemson or Carolina, but it's not, they don't take time to just say something at the beginning of class. Like it's a one and done. Like you're lucky if you hear someone acknowledge it. And I think that's sad, but it's always interesting to me to hear the stories of people who were alive and did experience it, because it is such a, I mean, it was the Pearl Harbor of the modern day. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, first, it's sad that our system now, educationally, doesn't take the time to just acknowledge and pay respects, because it was a huge, huge event, and still should be talked about. It's still the largest attack on U.S. soil ever. We shouldn't forget that. And when we forget it, guess what happens?
It repeats.
It repeats. I mean, history is bound to repeat itself, And so it's funny you talk about, maybe they shouldn't have shown us some stuff. You're talking to a Gen X dad who was sitting in his 5th grade class in Mr. Bell's class when he watched the Challenger explode, right? So
well, you didn't know the Challenger was going to explode.
We didn't.
There were certain things.
That's another day that I'll never forget. That I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
But there are certain things about 9/11 that they definitely knew were going to pop up, and they just did not prepare us to see those things at all. But
no. Yeah.
Hey, exposure therapy sometimes.
You grow up a little quicker every time, right?
Yeah.
Man, I'll never forget that day, though. But your mom and I watched, a couple documentaries on 9/11 again, and your mom and I tear up every time. The horrific, just such horrific things that happened that day. And, that's tangible. It's real. It's visceral. And, I think that's what feelings need to be for good and for bad, meaning it's a bad event, but have real feelings about it so that you hope to work towards a world that doesn't do that, But yeah, when they show the people choosing to either burn or jump, I mean, it's just the most horrific feeling that I get every single year. And, I was 20 in my late 20s when it happened originally, later, I guess mid 20s. I was working 2 jobs, going to school. Your mom and I were together. I was driving to work, and back then I was driving to my day job. So I had a day job, then I had a night job, and then I went to school in between. And my day job, I was driving. It was like a 30-minute drive from where we lived to the office, and I was listening to Howard Stern. He used to be on Rock 105.3 in San Diego, and Howard Stern was on, and I was like, "What the heck?" And I remember, I'll never forget driving, and of course it's Southern California, so I'm sitting in traffic on 5, and everybody's just stopped, and you could literally look out. I was driving in a van, so I was a little higher. You could look out the window and see everybody. I'll never forget the cars and everybody had the same look on their face of just
Yeah,
absolute
like what the hell?
horror, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it happened way before we were on the road, right? Because it's 3 hours behind. So I think the first one hit at 8:52 Eastern time. So it was 5:52 in the morning. So, I was driving down, I don't know, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. So it had already happened. So, yeah, it was crazy. It was just, I'll never forget that. And then, we still went to work, and then we all kind of just stood around and looked at each other like, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
And
Because the future of the day had to be so unsure. And it must have, was it, okay, so I have one quick question.
You can ask as many questions as you want.
Well, first, I won't forget watching documentaries and listening to the newscasters go from "this is a terrible accident" to the screams of horror when the second one hit, and then the realization setting in that this was not by accident.
Yeah.
And that, they talk about how I think it was Diane Sawyer, maybe, if I remember correctly. But she even said, she was like, I know those pilots train. They know where the Twin Towers are. They know where the Empire State Building is. This is not an accident. Like, just the panic, and it breaks my heart. And I just want to know, like, being in LA, being near LA, were you borderline scared that it was like it may be next? Because at this point there were reports of, there's a possible bomb at the White House, there's a possible bomb here, there's a possible bomb there, and then the Pentagon was hit while you were at work, because that was around 10:15. So was there fear that LA was next? Because I know California was on high alert since it was the second biggest state in the nation.
It's the first biggest state, but second biggest city.
Right. That's what I mean. So, like,
yeah. So I was
for influence.
So I wasn't in LA. We were in San Diego still, but I will say, yes, there was a very real fear that there was more. And if anyone doesn't know, San Diego is a huge military town. The Marines are in Camp Pendleton, in Miramar. Back then, Miramar might have still been Navy, and then you have North Island. And, when my dad and I used to sail San Diego, I sailed on boats, little 25-foot boats, 30-foot sailboats. We'd sail right by aircraft carriers and subs and all sorts of stuff. So huge military presence, right? So
yeah.
And then back then there was also the San Onofre power plant, nuclear power plant was operating, which is about 15 minutes north of Oceanside, 20 minutes north of Oceanside. So yeah, there was a very huge fear of more attacks, and so that's where it was scary. Like like you have the initial horror of the whole thing. Like I never in a million years would have thought that I'd ever see anything like that in my lifetime. And then you did. And I was 5 years older than you are now,
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And I remember standing in our office area, because we had offices, but then there was a general meeting area. There was a TV up there, and we were just watching the TV, and we were just like, what if this happens? And my office was in Miramar. Like, we were right near the base.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were scared to death. And my childhood house was near Miramar Naval Air Station. It was naval. It's where Top Gun was. So we had F-14 jets and all sorts of jets that used to fly over my house all the time doing just their little exercise. I'm not in the military, never was. So I don't know what the technical term is, but they used to do practice flights all around us all the time. So we were always aware of it. But then, so when this happened, it was like, oh shit, they weren't just flying around our neighborhood for nothing. Like this could be like this could be an all out thing, So yeah, it was scary. Watching it on watching it on the TV, I guess the news was just gut wrenching. And I was in an industry that was all men. So then you deal with, well, do you show emotion? Do you not show emotion? Are we supposed to
Right.
be afraid? Are we supposed to be, angry? Like you had every ounce of emotion run through you. And then it was, what do we do? Like,
Yeah.
what do we do? And I will say that it was a beverage distribution company. So they had us call a couple of our bigger customers that we had a history with to say, hey, obviously with everything that's going on, what would you like us to do?
Hmm.
And they were like, I don't even know why you're asking. We're not opening
Like,
today.
go home.
Like, go
Yeah.
home. So it was weird. So then I go home and your mom's home.
Freaking out probably because
She was
her sister's in
in
Brooklyn.
and couldn't get a hold of her.
Yeah.
And
Because all the phone lines were down. Because back in the day,
we didn't have cell phones.
that did affect phone calls.
I mean, there were cell phones, but we didn't. It wasn't.
They weren't as they weren't just in your hand all the time.
Right. And I mean, the plans on them were unbelievably expensive. So if you ever called on one, it better be after 7 p.m. Those Gen Xers out there will know exactly what that means.
It's like free parking in the city after 6 o'clock. It's like, you're good.
I mean, literally. So
Yeah.
So then, your mom and I worked at a restaurant, and the restaurant opened. We were open that night, so we had to work. And
Was it?
it was very.
Was it? I don't want to say dead because I
Right.
feel like that's not the right term. But
I knew you were struggling.
that's
with that.
restaurant
It's
term
restaurant
for quiet
term, yeah.
because restaurant people never say the Q word.
Yes.
And we sometimes even don't say dead because we don't want to jinx it. But
right, especially
we never say the Q words. So we will say, is it dead out there? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
no one attack me. I promise I'm not saying it insensitively.
Right.
That was
That
was restaurant lingo coming into play.
Yeah, it is. It was quiet. Yeah. I think there was, I don't know if we had many tables. I don't think we did. I just remember all of us standing around in the bar a lot and questioning what we're doing there. And
Yeah.
it was crazy. And so, you and your brother, when you guys were younger, we always made you guys watch those specials with us because we feel that it's important for you to understand history and to see it happening. You guys, generationally, you guys can help shape the future to be better. And so I think it's important that we watched it, and Ryan watched it with us this past week. You watched it on your own. Because everybody remembers what happened after, which was a country that was united together. We were pretty united as a country before, right? Nothing, for those of you that are younger, what is going on in the country now and how polarized it is was not ever how it was.
Well, yeah, and it's such a good example because people obviously didn't like Bush.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that really did not like him, and
there were people that didn't like Clinton before him.
Right. And but I mean, I guess I can kind of catapult onto the fact that I've witnessed my first huge, it feels like, where were you moments.
Yeah.
24 hours prior to the darkest day of our country, which was Charlie Kirk's assassination. Mm-hmm. I was, for anyone who doesn't know, I was like sick. Like, I don't know what happened, but I got sick. So I was sleeping a lot, but I woke up to my mom calling me, and it was the most jarring set of words I think I've ever heard. Cause I remember where I was when Trump got shot. Mm-hmm. I was at work and I had just gotten cut. Mm-hmm. Which again is restaurant lingo for being told I was allowed to go home.
Or phased.
We don't use that. Phased means you're like about to be cut. So start your like
start your closing
side
duties.
work. Yeah.
Yep.
But I had just gotten cut, and I remember coming home, and the family friends were over, and it was just quiet in the house, and the news was just on. But this one was it was jarring, and within the 3 minutes, my mom and I were on the phone call, and she first told me the news, and I went and turned on the news. By the time I had turned on my TV, he had passed away. And I will start off by saying, as a female, I'm moderate. I'm pretty in the middle, but I do lean right. That's just where I am. There were a lot of things Charlie Kirk believed in that I do not believe in. And a lot of it, I think, does have to do with the fact that I'm a woman, and some of the things that he said regarding women, like abortion stuff, which we have talked about. Mm-hmm. I didn't agree with that. But that was his beliefs, and I was able to respect that. Mm-hmm. But regardless of where you stand politically, it's a disgustingly vile event. And simultaneously, there was a school shooting in Colorado, and it just felt like the hits kept on coming. Like every time I opened my phone, there was, school shooting, Poland shoots down Russian things, like drones. Now Poland's calling in NATO Article 4, which is not good news, guys. Right. So 9/10, 2025 was one of the most emotionally jarring days of my life.
Yeah.
And the clock hit 12 and I was awake because, again, with sickness, sleeping patterns are a nightmare. I was awake and it hit 12 and I realized it was 9/11, and it made me sick to my stomach because I wrote a Facebook post, which I won't read the whole thing here. But one thing I think we all forget is politics are just opinions. It's free speech. There is such thing as hate speech, and the First Amendment doesn't give you the freedom to, it's the freedom from, but you're still allowed to voice your opinions. And no one deserves to be shot and killed in front of college students in such a viscerally aggressive way that not only is traumatizing for the people there, but for the youth of the nation. And 9/11 hit, and all I could think of was it didn't matter. It didn't matter what color you were, who you were sleeping with at night, who you voted for, if you were a male, a woman, or anything in between. Everyone had each other's backs. And that's something that makes me so sick, is now the reaction was so different to something that should have united us and gone, whoa, maybe we're taking politics way too far. Instead, it did the exact opposite. I saw a post that I will quote, "I will never again wish for a 9/11 2001, but I will wish for a 9/12 2001.
Yeah.
I think it was the most unified our country has been even since its founding. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And the lack of humanity due to the polarization of politics nowadays is so upsetting to me. And, again, I'm only 20 years old, but, I tell people all the time, I'm losing faith in humanity. And people are like, well, we're all just in a rough spot. We're all disagreeing, blah, blah, blah. But then, this happened and validated my statement because there was a lack of humanity countrywide, nationwide. And I don't care who you voted for. No one deserves to die like that. No children deserve to die in schools. Gun violence, period, needs to stop. It doesn't matter who's the victim of it. It all needs to stop. And we all need to do better and not make this a left versus right thing.
Right. So
it's a humanity thing.
Yeah, I think
Sorry, I didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but
okay. It's yeah. So, we talk about remembering things, right? I remember coming home from school when President Reagan was shot. I remember walking in the door through the garage, which went right into the kitchen, and my mom had our little kitchen black and white TV. So if for those of you that are younger and you've seen like that 70s show and stuff where they had the little TV over in the corner, that was legit. Most households did. She had that, I think, on, let's say ABC, and then she had the living room TV because we didn't have family rooms. We had a living room and we had a kitchen.
Yeah.
There weren't like 9 different rooms. She had that on, let's say, CBS or whatever, right? So she had 2 different ones, and she was just running back and forth. And I was little, but I remember that like it was yesterday. And yeah, there's been moments in history that can either unify you or they show ugliness, right? And it's been throughout history and many different civilizations and countries and stuff. You can do any research and find that. But you're right. And I didn't mean to lead into that, but the country was not nearly as polarized as it is now. I mean, I in a million years, if you would have asked me in the year 2000 where we would be in 25 years, this is not where I would have picked. Ever. Never, ever.
No.
Never.
I wouldn't have even picked it 10 years ago.
No. And so we were unified in our response and our reaction. It was a human reaction. It was a horrible event, and it didn't matter who it was. It was horrible. And we all could agree with that, you know? Same thing with, John Lennon being shot. I was alive for that. Reagan being shot. Obviously, Trump's assassination attempt, which is more recent. 9/11. I mean, there's been quite a few, and the majority of the reactions were from a human perspective of humanity. This assassination of Charlie Kirk, I've got to be careful because you got to be careful with what you say nowadays, social media, etc. So I have to be really careful, but I don't have to be careful to say that I am Republican. I wasn't always. In the 90s, I was probably more Democrat than I was Republican, to be honest. And then I went independent for a long time, and then now I'm more on the Republican side. And that's not illegal to say. It's not against any company policy to say, so I'm okay with that. But like you said, regardless of who you are, where you are, what you believe in, murder is wrong. I don't care in what capacity. To kill someone that you disagreed with or had differing points of view or challenged your critical thinking ability is no reason to kill anybody. And the thing that I think through, and you said about abortion, right? And we've talked about that. I struggle with it now on what's right, what's wrong. The one thing that I will say is he had a lot of political opinions, but he rooted everything in his belief in the Bible and in Jesus Christ and in his Christian faith. Just like we would and have always relied upon. Right? Western civilization is founded on Christian principles. It is. The whole Western civilization is Christianity. It is. Eastern Asia is not. Central Asia is something else, right? Like it's okay to have that, right?
But it's also beautiful that in the United States there is freedom to practice.
Yeah.
Like my roommate's Jewish.
Right.
So it's founded on Christian principles, but that doesn't mean you can't practice Judaism.
Right.
Or Buddhism or Islam.
Right.
Like
it's and whenever there was a topic that he didn't feel good about. He just always reverted back to his faith and what his faith told him. And I have struggled my entire life with religion. I have. I have a real strong aversion to organized religion because of the corruption that has existed in all religions, not just Christianity. And so, I'm not like, hey, let me jump on the bus and ride down the street with this viewpoint, right? Just like you, there's some stuff he would say, I'd be like, okay.
I'd be like, ooh, I didn't like that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I always respected the fact that he could come back to why. He always came back to why. And there was a lot of stuff that he said that was factually accurate. And so it is a sad day in our country. Not just because he was assassinated. That's sad. Don't get me started on the sadness that has. What's almost worse is the reaction of those people that celebrated it and glorified it. And
to me, that is worse. You said almost worse. To me, it is.
Yeah, that's fair. It could be. I'm a dad, right? So I have an emotional reaction to the fact that he has 2 young kids that'll never know him, and that he had a young wife, and she has to raise those kids without him. And what she had to tell her daughter when her daughter asked, "Where's Daddy?" and she had to tell him he's on a work trip with Jesus. I mean, that just it's just heartbreaking. So, listen, I mean, there's people out there that believe a lot of things I don't believe, and never once have I ever thought to celebrate hurting them. Never once have I thought about hurting somebody because they believe something different from me. Like, it just has never crossed my mind to go and be that angry at somebody.
And not when they haven't done anything personal to me. I've had personal life experiences that took me years to get over the anger that I felt towards the person that caused it. But never during that anger did I ever wish them ill will. Maybe I said in a heat of rage, I hope you lose this and that. I hope you lose all your friends.
Right.
And I know that's minimizing it, but to personalize it, he never said anything personal to you. Never. And if people stood up to the microphone and it got a little personal, he matched energy. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
With his beliefs, his personal beliefs were always biblical, but his political beliefs were 98% of the time backed by fact. And that's something that you can't argue with. You can disagree with it, sure. But facts are facts, meaning they've been proven to be true.
Right. Yeah, it's funny, like everybody has an experience where they wished something. I mean, dude, I used to go, I wish my parents would die when I was a kid because I got punished, right?
Well, I did say that one time actually when you guys took my iPod.
Yeah, of course. And you say I mean, you could be as shallow as, I wish that player would get hurt and never play again so my team could win. I mean, no one on earth can say that they can look at themselves in the mirror and never had one of those moments in their lifetime, right? And I've been angry at people. I have a temper problem. I have my entire life, and I've been in fights and I've done things. So I'm not on a soapbox. I'm not justifying anything. I'm not standing for anything other than the fact that if somebody feels that they have to murder someone in order to silence their voice, then we're failing as humankind. We're just failing. And the saddest part is that people celebrate it. I saw one where she said, now go after the wife and the kids too. I mean, I just can't even believe that. And if anyone thinks that that's okay, I just, once again,
disagree with it.
I disagree, and I, that's where I start going into praying. I just pray that we get better,
Hmm.
and I am saddened by it. I am sickened by it. Um, I can't understand why people feel that way. Um, or let me back up. I can't understand why people would choose to take their phone or their iPad or whatever they record themselves on and go onto a social platform to celebrate hurt and
Hmm.
anguish
And
and
hate.
hate. And, you know, and I think that's important differentiating factor, right? I'm not standing here saying that he was right and what all of you that don't believe him is wrong. Nope, not saying that at all, not even in a little bit.
No,
And
because you're
conversely,
entitled to your opinion.
right. And conversely, I'm not saying those of you that didn't believe what he said are right and he was wrong. I'm not saying anything regarding either way. What I'm saying is if you in your life have that much hatred because of somebody's belief system or somebody's viewpoints to the point that you would be willing to murder them, then you have an issue and you need to go seek some professional help, right? We've got to stop and just reflect on what are we doing? What are
Yeah,
we doing when we feel that our only course of action
is violence.
is violence? And that is why it's sad and it hurts me. And I fear for you and my son because you guys, well, Ryan and you both have a stronger religious faith than your mom and I
Hmm.
did at your age. Your Ryan wears a cross.
I wore a cross. The chain broke.
You wear a cross. You put scriptures in your posts. And
You are
so
resting on my Bible. Like the phone is
the phone
sitting
is.
on the Bible right now.
Yeah. And so, I fear like, is my son or daughter going to get shot because they represent a value system that somebody else doesn't appreciate? Like it scares me. It scares me to be in a world where we have to worry about that. And,
Hmm.
and,
It's very backwards. It's very backwards. And
and,
yes,
and just,
Ryan.
and just for the record, I fear for that for everybody, not
Yeah, I
just you
mean,
guys.
Jewish hate is
Jewish hate is
rampant.
real. There are people that are racist, and if I was of a colored background, and I don't mean that in a '50s derogatory term. I mean black, Hispanic, whatever. Then I would I wouldn't ever wish that upon anyone to walk out of their door and be feared for violence against them because of how they
Just
look,
because of who they
how they
are.
believe, what they
Hmm.
believe, anything. None of that. Um, so that scares me and it's concerning. And, I'll get back to the beginning. What happened was horrible. An assassination of any kind is horrible. Um, if that was Biden that was assassinated, I would feel
Ugh,
just as equally
just as
horrible.
sick.
It's disgusting. It has
Hmm.
zero place in our society. So for anybody that listens and wants to call me some right-wing crazy guy, then you're just proving my point of not understanding and listening to all points of view. Any political or religious or racial hatred is wrong. It has no
Hmm.
place here. It has no business, and we have no business killing each other over it. It is disgustingly ridiculous to feel that. And what I am really really disheartened by is the reaction to the contrary, that people
Yes.
feel like they can justify this. And I could sit and talk to a million people And not a million people will convince me that anything like this is ever justified for anybody in any context. And that's that.
So, yes. I mean, so personally, there are certain things where I feel like violence is not the answer, but let me explain what I mean first. If a pedophile is in jail because they're a pedophile and the inmates beat the shit out of them, I think that's completely justifiable. I think if a rapist, there was that French woman, the famous video, French mom, there was a guy who raped and killed her daughter. She walked into court and shot him on the stand. So you know what? Stuff like that I think is justifiable because those are evil people walking the earth.
Right.
Do I condone violence? No. Do I think there's circumstances where it's justifiable? Sure. Do I think this is one of them? Absolutely not. And going off of what you said, I don't care what you practice. I don't care how you dress. I don't care what color you are. I don't care who you're sleeping with at night. I don't care. As long as you're happy and you're not hurting anybody else, congratulations, and I wish you the best life. Because it's that simple. It's that simple. And Ryan and I are more religious, and I do think that has to do with the fact that you guys gave us the freedom to choose whether we got to or not. Mm-hmm. I think your aversion to organized practices is due to you growing up in a church. Because Ryan and I practice on our own with our own Bibles, and Ryan and I have differing interpretations of the Bible, but that's what it's supposed to be. So I will never be ashamed of the fact that I'm a Christian woman, ever. And I mean, part of that, me turning to faith as well, is probably the environment I've grown up in. I mean, the South isn't called the Bible Belt for no reason.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
I mean, I was baptized Roman Catholic. I mean, you don't get much more Christian than
you mean our Irish ancestors were Catholic?
Yeah, right.
No.
What a shock. So no, I mean, yeah, you're right.
I wasn't done.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Go.
But yes, I just to wrap it up relatively. All violence has to stop. Especially gun violence, it's out of control. And I don't care if you're right wing, left wing, I think we can all agree on that. I think that there needs to be some evaluation, because I don't think that guns should be taken away, because the Second Amendment provides them to us to protest against tyrannical government, which is what the Second Amendment says, in case anybody's wondering.
Right. People forget. It's not the right.
Correct.
It's not the right to own.
It's not the right to
guns.
shoot and kill somebody. It's the right to protect
arms
yourself
from a government, because
tyrannical government.
Because every government throughout history has turned tyrannical. Every single one. There hasn't been one.
But I don't think we should take them away. I think that's a good thing that the people of the United States have. I do think we need to look at it. I think we need to reevaluate it, because something has to change, and that's just my opinion. But I think the world is waking up. I think the world has been in a kind of stupor since about 2020, where things have been happening and we've been outraged by it, but just letting it happen. London had a march the other day. They say it was only over 100,000 people. If you watch the footage, it was
like 3 million.
Way more than that.
It was like 3 million, I heard.
Protesting against their government. France just had another revolution. They just had a mini French Revolution, in case anybody's wondering, if you're not following. Nepal just overthrew their government, set their government building on fire, which, by the way, might be one of the coolest things I've ever seen. That was like a Renaissance painting. The people standing on top while it's up in flames. That was crazy.
I wouldn't say it was cool, but okay.
I think Renaissance painting wise, it was cool.
Visually,
I think the people are waking up, and I think we've all had enough. I think it's time that the United States is the same. I think we all need to wake up out of this stupor of just hating each other for existing and breathing and come together and go, what do we want for the future of this country? Because I guarantee you, 98% of us would have the same basis, which is to live and enjoy. That's all it is. And I know it doesn't seem that simple because it's been pictured to make it appear like it's that difficult to achieve. And that's where the polarization has happened. And I know a lot of this is very 20-year-old, like la la land, but I don't think it's unachievable. We just have to step up and do it. And listen, say all you want about the Bible. And if you are a non-believer, that's okay. Practice your religion or don't practice one at all. You're completely free to do that. But there are many things that have been going on recently that are specifically discussed in Scripture. And all I can do is keep my faith, keep strong to who I am, and hope and pray that we as a nation wake up and move forward as a united people, because we are the people of the United States, not the divided states.
Yeah. Listen, I there's a lot to unpack there that we won't have time to, but hopefully we'll address them, in future episodes. But yeah, there's a lot of misguided people, and there's a lot of causes for that, and we've gone further and further away from central on both sides of everything. And that, until we can actually admit that, I don't know if we'll ever get there. I mean, I worked for a company that told me that I was not, because I didn't see color in a person, I was doing them a disservice. And I was like, what? I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and there was a very, very popular man called Martin Luther King Jr. that said, I'm not going to get it perfect. Somebody will probably blast me for it. But he said, I seek to have a country where a man is not judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And I was reprimanded by an employer because I was treating the managers the same, even though they were all different. Meaning, I was judging them by the content of their character, their actions, their behaviors, and their execution of their job responsibilities. I didn't favor one over the other, and I got reprimanded for it. And that, if we can't recognize that we're all different, but we all have our own internal struggles, and we all have a moral compass, if we can't find that neutrality of morality again, I don't know where we go as a civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And that is sad, but there have been many, many moments throughout history and throughout many different types of civilizations that had dark times that rose above it, because eventually human beings are capable of anything, really, right? And whether you believe that God has your path or not, or somebody else, we're better than this. We should be able to have discussion and disagreements and differing viewpoints and different ways to get there. That's what makes us better. I've been in a lot of business meetings, and we have people from all over, different backgrounds, different specialties, and we do whiteboard exercises and infinity exercises, because you gain more when you come together. I understand that I don't do payroll, and I understand that I don't do HR, but you also understand that you don't do ops, and you don't do biz ops, and you don't do sales ops, and you don't do frontline managing, and I don't do programming of code for pay grades. Like, once you recognize that we are all different and understand that that's okay, but we all have the same goal in mind, which is to make us better, then we're going to be okay. It's just right now, these people don't see any value in these people, and these people don't see a whole lot of value in these people, and those people over there don't see a lot of value in the people over here, and vice versa. And until we can get out of all that, it's going to be really, really challenging. And I pray and I hope, and every day I hope we're doing the right thing by, I read something a long time ago that said that in order for society to be productive, you have to start with the nuclear first and you grow it from there, which means start with your family.
Yeah.
Then go to your community or to your neighbor, be a good neighbor, and then be a good participant in your community, and be a good participant in your city and in your state and in your country and in your church and your whatever. You got to start here. And if you're in a home that doesn't have that, then create it, find it. There's ways to do it. And a really bad week last week, and we're running out of time. So I want anyone that was affected by 9/11 to know that the Gray family still thinks of you.
Yeah.
And we still love you. And we hope that every year seeing all those documentaries doesn't bring back all the pain and hurt every year, because I can't imagine what that feels like. To Charlie Kirk and his family and followers, we are heartbroken. Nobody deserves that. We hope and pray that everything, that there's a light that comes out of this tragedy. And for the poor kids in Colorado or the kids in Minnesota that were gunned down praying to start their school day last month, we hope that these will continue to diminish or start to diminish. We hope that we can find some way to deal with things in a way that's more productive. And I will say this, and then I'm done. Whatever you say or feel about Charlie, saying that he deserved it is so wrong on every level. There are countless and countless and countless clips where he has discussions and disagreements, and he still never demeaned anyone for it. He even said, honor thy mother and father. It's one of the 10 commandments. Even if they wear a BLM shirt or they're trans now or whatever, you still honor them and you have a discussion with them. He is on video saying he doesn't hate any group. How can he have hate when he has love for all of mankind? He doesn't agree with their life choices, but he doesn't hate anyone. And
that's the message of the Bible.
And that's the message of the Bible. And so I hope
it really is.
I really hope that we can find a way to have sympathy again and to really move forward as a learning experience and get better at being people.
And I second all of that. And I just want to add on to end it a little more positively, because this was a harder episode emotionally and just topic wise for people to probably sit through. If you did listen to this whole thing, we appreciate it. Just like we preached this whole episode, remember humanity. We are just two people who have opinions. So please respect that, and we will respect your opinion. And the last thing I want to say before we wrap this up is fall in love with learning again. Fall in love with learning about people's differences. I bring up the fact that my roommates are Jewish because every day we're learning more about each other. And, they're like, oh, now I'm going to sound terrible because I can't remember what it's called. But in a few weeks, there's like a feast that they're having. And they literally asked if I wanted to be included. And they're like, just so you can like learn. And then they go to, there's Yom Kippur coming up and all that kind of stuff. And fall in love with learning about people again, fall in love with learning about their religion, fall in love with learning about their culture. It's a beautiful thing that there is so much individuality in the world, and it's a beautiful thing to acknowledge it and learn about it. So fall in love with learning again, fall in love with learning about people specifically.
Connecting.
And I think that's where we can begin to repair the damages that have been done by the polarizations of the media and politics. But yes. On that note, again, thank you guys for listening. Prayers, thoughts, and I know people say prayers. At this point, prayers are the automatic response, but I mean it because I'm a Christian woman. Prayers, love. So everybody who has ever been affected by gun violence and 9/11 and the Kirk family, I hope you guys find peace soon. And thank you guys for continuing to watch and support us. And we will see you guys next Thursday, maybe with a much lighter topic. We'll see what the hell happens this week. So
right. Let's hope it's lighter. Hopefully we can get back to figuring out what dating is like now compared to how it was when I was a kid, or
still sucks, by the way.
We hope that it's a lighter topic. Let's pray that this week doesn't give us any reason to have a serious topic conversation. But, once again, we are not advocating for either side, up or down. Just people and humanity and good. So thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Yeah. See you guys next Thursday. Thanks for listening.
Bye.